Remember when I said it seems that they're trying to paint, as I've said, they're trying to paint Halucha being the one who gives Ash the fairy badge, but I still think that it's most likely that Fletchinder is probably going to sweep the gym. It seems that I should pay more attention to the trailer and the previews more than what I'm feeling is going to happen. Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel, and welcome to another Pokemon XY anime discussion. That's right, today's particular topic, we're going to talk about the gym battle that just happened. Well, not just happened. I didn't record this right when it aired, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. No, it's like 4 in the morning. Well, actually, probably about 4:35, something like that. Anyway, the episode aired today, which is good, and everything of that nature. But unfortunately, I wish that this was mostly about the gym, but we just need to talk about just a little bit about new information that was revealed along with the episode, apparently. Well, not along with the episode, but probably within a few hours, since I don't know, since there was from when the episode actually aired to when I woke up to look and see what was going on was probably a couple of hours. So anyway, before we get into the gym review and talk about the gym, let's talk about the new title that was revealed from TV Tokyo. Braixen and Pancham, an entrancing fire performance. Now, if you remember what else I was said, unlike the beginning of this video, I'm not going to actually cut to a video, but remember in my, was it Pokeball Factory speculation where I was talking about, at the end I was talking about Gurgeist or Braixen, or not Braixen, Gourgeist, and I thought that Pumpkaboo could evolve into the Pokemon Showcase. Remember that? You remember that? Well, maybe you haven't seen it yet because you wanted to see this first because this is about the gym. Well, anyway, I said along the lines that, hey, maybe XY79 will be the Pokemon Showcase and it will revolve around Pumpkaboo evolving into Gourgeist. Well, it seems that I'm half right at this moment in time. I could be completely right or half right, but it seems that XY79 that airs June 2nd. Thankfully, there is an episode airing on June 2nd. And it is the Pokemon Showcase that we saw in the upcoming previews. Now, I'm going to stay away from that for now, but I will be making another video about that. And also, some new images have appeared for some of the other episodes. There's a cute, better picture of Noibat in Ash's lab, and there's some interesting Pokeball Factory image that TV Tokyo also revealed on the site. And there is a funny Pikachu Halucha mix, but that's just going to have to wait to another video, so thankfully those are a few weeks away, so we have plenty of time to talk about them. So anyway, let's jump right into the Pokemon battle. First though, I think I was going to save this for last, but I actually want to do this first so that we can actually digest the gym battle and you can see why. Well, actually, I'll save most of what I was going to do last, but I will just say that Valerie definitely takes the third gym place at this moment in time. Now, you're going to have to wait till the end of this particular video before I give my in-depth discussion of the gym rankings and how I rank them. Viola is on that list twice for the first match and the rematch because they have different placements. They were definitely not enjoyable the same or whatever. So let's jump right into this particular gym battle, shall we? This gym battle was amazing, if I could just say that right now. I was not expecting it. It still had the problem of being a 2 versus 2, and I think a lot of people, from what I've seen, have had that issues. But a lot of people, at least in the Cerebi forums, because Bulba Garden forums really aren't that as active, in the Cerebi forums, a couple of users mentioned that it was quality over quantity, and, you know, partially I would agree, but if you can't have quality and quantity at the same time, you shouldn't be writing Pokemon at all. You shouldn't be writing, period, because in terms of Pokemon battles, you can have quality and quantity. And the best example I can think of, whether or not you agree with me, is Ash versus Paul in the Sinnoh League. That was a very good battle, and it had a lot of quantity. Granted, Torterra and Staraptor didn't get a win, but I guess we could ignore that for the most part. But it was still a quality match, and it was a full battle. So, but based on the episode, based on how long it took, because Team Rocket were not in the episode at all, it seems to me that they really didn't have any choice to make this a 2-on-2 unless they made it a two-parter, and they quickly finished in the beginning of the first one. Granted, Pikachu Frogadier could have been sent out against Mawile or Mr. Mime. They could have knocked out, and then we could have gotten the same battle. But based on everything, I can't imagine what they could have cut down on, except maybe the reactions and the stunned reactions or whatever. But outside of that, it was still a beautiful battle. But let's talk about the gym battle in depth. Let's give a recap first, and then I'll give an analysis of the gym battle. So basically, the recap starts with, surprisingly, Scotty with the rest of the group. Now, I say this is surprising because I could have swore there was a summary somewhere that said that Scotty or Shota was watching in secret, and that while watching the battle in secret, especially based on the previews, it seemed like Shota was outside of the gym battle looking in and be like, oh, hey, Trico, Ash is battling. And I thought it was going to be that. But no, he's right next to Serena or Clement or Bonnie, and he's writing notes and stuff. And then I believe at the end of this episode, Scotty says that he wants to battle Ash or whatever because of Ash's amazing performance in the gym battle. So let's rewind back to the start of the episode where they go in, they meet I know I neglected to say this, but those girls or whatever in the Shota versus Valerie, Bagon versus Britzy episode, those are called the Furisode girls or Furisode girls or something. I don't know the correct pronunciation. But yeah, I neglected to mention that before. Those were the girls that there was an image, like I said, of these two girls looking suspicious. Those are actually in the games. All of the characters, pretty much, that are relating to the gym are basically related to the games. Or did I say that wrong? The characters in the anime in the gyms are relating to the characters within the games. The Furisode girls or whatever are exactly the same as in the games. There's no anime-only characters, basically, in regards to Laverre Gym. Granted, Ash and Scotty are anime-only, but they don't really count. So, yeah, anyway, that's when they met all the Furisode girls, and Ash says, I want to challenge the gym. So they basically separate and allow Ash to go into the gym. Then Ash is there. There's a little confusion as to where Valerie is, and then one of the Furisode girls says something. I don't speak Japanese, but I assume it's like, just give her a moment. She's making her appearance or grand entrance or something of that nature. Probably wrong, but then the lights start dimming, and then it gets kind of spooky, I guess you could say, with the whole thing. It's kind of suspenseful. I wouldn't say ominous or spooky, but I guess it was suspenseful. At least that's what I got the feeling. And there was like black leaves or whatever going across the screens around the gym or whatever. And then Valerie introduced herself. And surprisingly, I don't know if this was said or if this was probably off screen or something of that nature, but during Valerie and Ash talking before the gym battle, Valerie actually mentioned Ash by name. Granted, she said it in a way that they weren't introduced before, as far as I'm aware, but it was just stated as kind of like a matter of fact. Oh, you must be the challenger Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town. It was kind of like that. At least that's what I got from, I guess, I may not know Japanese, but Japanese. I may not know Japanese or whatever. I can't speak fluently or know it, but I do pick up on some words that are repeated. And the tone. So I think that's what it was. I think that somehow she was like texted because I didn't see any Fierce Soda girl coming out with her or whatever. So, or maybe there was maybe gyms are reservations or something, and maybe that was Ash's reservation or whatever. I don't know. It's hard to say when you don't know the intimate details of the battle. So. Then the referee, the Fierce Soda girl that was the referee, she said it was a 2-on-2 battle, basically, because it had to be a 2-on-2 battle. Well, no, it's a 3-on-3 battle, but if 2 of the gym leaders' Pokemon are knocked out, we're just gonna stop there. Even if you're Haluchinaka, no, that was not the case. It was a 2-on-2. I don't know if I don't think the gym or the challenger was allowed to make substitutions. I'm not really sure on that. Usually, I can pick up on the Japanese audio of the challenger is allowed to substitute, but it didn't sound right, and I don't know what it was said against Lenora when. Well, no, it was. I don't think there has been any gym so far that I can think of where the gym challenger was not allowed to substitute Pokemon. Gym leader, yes, but not just the gym challenger or whatever. So I'm not sure if Ash was not allowed to call back Fletchinder or whatever, but I guess that's not important right now. So then Valerie sends out Sylveon first. We get then Ash is revealed, or it's revealed to Ash that Valerie can talk to Pokemon in their natural language or something. I need to see the subs of the previous episode to know exactly what Valerie is capable of, but Ash, I think, was impressed by it, so he sent out Fletchinder. I think there was some mention with Clement. I know the dub calls him Clement. I know that. But I just prefer Clement because it sounds much better than Clement. Clement just sounds so weird. I know it's whole based off the lemon, and I know maybe some of you have been annoyed that I keep saying Clement, but I'm still gonna call him Clement because Clement just sounds weird, you know. But yeah, the dub calls him Clement, you know. But anyway, it was either Clement or Scotty that mentioned that fairy types don't do very much against fire types, I believe, or even Valerie herself. I think that was what was mentioned. Don't quote me on that. I'm probably wrong. So then the battle starts. You know, Fletchinder gets there with a nice Steel Wing, indicating that it does have a super effective move against the fairy types. Oh, maybe that was what it was. Steel types being super effective against fairy types. That might have been what it was. So then the battle continues on. At one point, Sylveon uses Drainy Kiss and blocks Fletchinder from attacking, but Fletchinder manages to escape. Then an exchange of attacks happens. Sylveon's ribbons wrap around Fletchinder, and then it uses Fairy Wind as well, and it seems like Fletchinder is going to lose. And then as Sylveon is, I don't know, about to slam Fletchinder into the ground or whatever it was that was going to happen, Ash said something and then said, Fletchinder, use Flame Charge or whatever. And then that's when that's when Fletchinder used Flame Charge. The preview was, or the actual episode was even more confusing. I don't know if the ribbons that Sylveon has caught on fire as Sylveon, or as Fletchinder was going to attack Flame Charge, or whether it was just the effect of the perspective of Fletchinder slamming into Sylveon. But that's when Fletchinder escaped, and then so on and so forth, and Fletchinder wins as a result of Steel Wing. I forgot that Fletchinder tried to use Peck, and that's what Sylveon caught with its ribbons or whatever. So anyway, Sylveon, it loses as a result of Steel Wing. That's when we get to an interesting aspect within the gym, is that the Furasode girls, they were actually surprised. They were like surprised that Sylveon actually lost. Even the referee, and there was this huge gap between the realization that that something happened, and then Valerie was like, "Hey, are you gonna call it, or what? Is my Pokemon still able to battle?" And that's when the Furasode girl actually then said Sylveon was knocked out. I'm not sure I like that too much because it seems a little too cheap. It kind of reminds me of I know it's not Pokemon related, but it reminds me of all the cheap times within WWE wrestling or whatever, where those kind of things would happen, where it would give the other wrestler time to get granted that's scripted or whatever the case may have been, but it's just weird that it seems that just not doing anything there could have possibly give Sylveon time to get up and still attack. I don't know if that's possible. But anyway, Sylveon loses, then Spritzy's called out. There was a moment, though, that during the battle between Sylveon and Spritzy, or not, so Sylveon and Fletchinder, where Fletchinder almost seemed to knocked out, and that was it was that Giga Impact Steel Wing attack. You see Fletchinder, and it like stumbles when you see its land, or when it's there in that perspective shot. It stumbles, and then all of a sudden it's back to normal, and then all of a sudden Sylveon falls over. That was just something to note. Then Spritzy is sent out, and that's when we get into a very surprising strategy of tactic by Ash. This moment, Spritzy dodges Steel Wing, I believe, the first time, and then Valerie has Spritzy using Trick Room, and the interesting thing is I think Ash actually recognizes what Trick Room does. I'm pretty sure Clement or even Scotty or whatever actually mentioned what Trick Room does or something. Probably Clement, since Scotty is a beginning trainer, but Scotty said something that I don't know what he said. He said something that he was like writing down or whatever. So then that's when we get into a surprising moment. It seemed like Ash didn't know what he was doing, but when the strategy worked, that's when you realized, that was clever. I mean, that was very heavily dependent on whether or not you were going to survive, and it was a risky move, but it was very clever. So anyway, after Trick Room is revealed, so Fletchinder uses Flame Charge, and you'll see within the episode that Flame Charge causes Fletchinder to move really slow, and Spritzy dodges, and all those things. Fletchinder takes a few attacks during this, such as that Moon Blast that you saw. And then the thing is, the more Fletchinder used Flame Charge, it would seem like it got slower, and I think that was the point of Trick Room. The faster the Pokemon, the slower it would go and stuff. And everyone was like, "Why does Ash keep using Flame Charge?" Because they were actually surprised that Ash kept using Flame Charge. Then eventually we found out why. When Ash was in the process of using this final Flame Charge, and I think we see a shot of Ash looking specifically, we see Trick Room starting to fail. And then that's when it just disappears because it is a turn-based move. Well, outside of what happened later in the episode, but it is a turn-based move, and that it only stays up in effect for a certain amount of turns. I don't know how this relates to Pokemon anime, but possibly after a while it starts to fail, and that's what happened. Trick Room failed, and that's when Ash used Steel Wing, and it was very clever because otherwise you would have thought that Ash was stupid, okay? He kept using Flame Charge. He kept going slow. He could have used Razor Wind, which I'm surprised was not used. That would have been very helpful to see, or fun to see, but whatever, we'll ignore that. And then you would have thought, well, why isn't Ash trying to use Steel Wing or Peck or whatever? But that's not what happened. Ash was using Flame Charge on purpose. Flame Charge was still raising Fletchender's speed, but because of Trick Room, it was making it even slower, and that was the whole point of it. Because the moment that Trick Room had failed, that's when that's when Ash had Fletchender use Steel Wing. Due to all those flame charges and that boosted speed and the fact that Trick Room was not in effect anymore, basically caused Fletchender to shoot at or fire at Spritzy like a rocket, basically. I mean, well, it wasn't that fast, but it was pretty much that fast because that's when Fletchender used Steel Wing against Spritzy. Now, at that particular moment, I was confused because I was like, oh my goodness, is Fletchender going to beat Spritzy? But we saw in the preview that Hawlucha was battling Spritzy. What's going on? Apparently, that wasn't enough because a few moves later, I think, that's when Spritzy actually beat Fletchender. That's right, the preview trailer may have not been entirely accurate in whether or not what was going to knock out Fletchender, but it did imply that Fletchender was going to be knocked out, and that's exactly what happened. And this left Hawlucha. At this point, I wasn't sure whether or not Hawlucha was going to win or not, but I figured that it was, if Ash was going to win, Hawlucha was definitely going to be what took the match, and I was eagerly awaiting how this happened. Then we get into some interesting anime-only mechanics, which is really nice because within the context of the anime, it does make sense. Remember, the games are limited, or have limitations, so it doesn't make any sense to criticize what happened. By the way, this gym battle actually proved that Hawlucha had a brand new move. But first off, let's start with the very beginning of the match. I'm not really sure how it went, or I can't quite remember the details entirely, but basically Ash had Hawlucha using Karate Chop, but it didn't work properly, and then next thing you know, there was Trick Room. Trick Room actually showed up, so that's what confused me at first. When Trick Room failed against Fletchender, I actually thought, wait a minute, did I miss something? I think Fletchender is going to win because we've never seen this in the preview, but what happened is Valerie actually sent out a second Trick Room, which is interesting because a lot of these particular turn-based moves don't actually last for a very long. When they fizzle out, they are never reintroduced. You know, thinking back to the Battle of Conway, Trick Room was used the entire time. Granted, it was Dust Noir that could learn Trick Room, so there'd be no reason to have the Trick Room fail. But basically, that was not the case here. It actually failed. But Trick Room was sent up a second time, and then Hawlucha had some issues or whatever, and that's when we got its revealed fourth move, which is really nice. I'm not entirely sure I'm too happy with the choice of it being what it was, but it was definitely a very nice addition to Ash's Hawlucha. Basically, what the move was X Scissor, which is a bug type move. The reason why I say I'm not entirely sure I was happy with it is because it helped within the gym battle, yes, but the thing that I'm not happy about it was that it was X Scissor. It could have been any other move, Poison Jab, Iron Head, or Iron Head, or whatever, and I probably would have been a little bit more happy with it, but it's very nice that Hawlucha actually has another move. Now we just have to replace Karate Chop with a similar flying type attack or another random move, and then basically we'll have a good move. Because basically I'm seeing that because of X Scissor, Hawlucha does not have the need to use Karate Chop anymore. It has Flying Press and it has High Jump Kick for those other moves. But anyway, let's move on. This isn't about Hawlucha's moveset. Now, a lot of people, I will say, are criticizing that Hawlucha just suddenly came around with X Scissor, but I have to disagree with them heavily on this. Granted, X Scissor is something that appeared out of nowhere, and I can understand the frustrations, but this wasn't like other moves. This wasn't like Noctowl learning confusion within the actual gym battle with Morty, even though I didn't have a problem with that. Or maybe when a Pokemon evolves, it learns a new move on its own or whatever. Or this isn't the case with when Sagoo evolved into Goodra and Ash told it to use Dragon Breath and instead it used Dragon Pulse as an upgrade. The reason why I'm not as critical as this is because Ash knew that Hawlucha had X-Scissor, which means off-screen Ash did teach Hawlucha X-Scissor. And the cool thing about this is ever since 4th Gen, when X-Scissor was first introduced, Ash has always had a Pokemon with X-Scissor. It'll be interesting if this will happen in the next generation. 4th Gen, we had Ash's Gligar and Gliscor. Technically, Gligar could almost use X-Scissor, but it was Gliscor that really effectively used X-Scissor. And then Ash had a bug type that actually used X-Scissor, and now we have another Pokemon of Ash's in the 6th Gen that can learn X-Scissor. So I really like X-Scissor. That is probably one of my favorite bug type moves within the Pokemon. I don't know if it's the best bug type move ever. I don't know if Bug Buzz is stronger or whatever the case may be, but X-Scissor is definitely one of my favorite bug type moves, and I'm always happy to see it on Ash's team, at least on one Pokemon per generation. So that was really nice. So then we get Hawlucha being knocked around, and then we get this really cool moment that you will see an image of right as I talk about it. Not right now, but as I talk about it. What we get is, well, actually there are two moments, never mind. There's the first moment where actually Hawlucha catches Spritzy's Gyro Ball, and I don't know if this was a rule of Trick Room where fast Pokemon are actually faster, and that way Gyro Ball wasn't as effective, but what happened was Hawlucha actually caught Gyro Ball. And then basically what happened was he spun it, or Hawlucha spun Spritzy in Gyro Ball, bounced off the Trick Room wall, and then if I'm mistaken, there will be text saying this, but what happened after that is, after pushing off the Trick Room roll, Ash called out X-Scissor, if I'm not mistaken, and then Hawlucha was spinning like a drill, and then just smacked into Spritzy, and then Spritzy went onto the other side of Trick Room, where X-Scissor actually drilled holes in, basically, Trick Room, causing it to fail. So it's interesting because it does make sense that X-Scissor was used, because they're using the logic that a bug-type move, which is super effective against Psychic, would be able to disrupt a Psychic type move. X-Scissor disrupting Trick Room, and that's kind of what was hinted at. I know, like I said, that is an anime-only mechanic, but it does make sense. Now, a lot of people are like, one person on Cerebi forums said, what about Brick Break? It's not very effective against Psychic types, so why is it that it can destroy, reflect, or light screen? And another user brought up the main point is that it's based off of breaking walls. I think the Japanese is wall break or something of that nature, or whatever, or tile break or something of that nature, and it makes sense that a wall of bricks would be able to be knocked down using Brick Break, and that's the point of Brick Break. But using anime-only concepts, because there are limitations with the game, it actually makes sense that a super effective move would be able to disrupt, at least partially, the energy of a move that it's ordinarily weak against. I think that goes along with the type matchup. It's not about the Pokemon composition, or the Pokemon's body composition, making up this particular type and then being super effective or whatever, but it's actually the moves, because basically I think the energy of Pokemon moves is the same energy that gives up the composition of a Pokemon to give its typing. So a fairy type Pokemon should have the same energies as fairy type moves. So a bug type move being used against a psychic type defensive attack should be more damaging than anything else, because it would make sense that the energies are being disrupted. At least from a logical standpoint, logical point of view, that's how it makes sense. Whether or not you agree with it and you think it's Deus Ex Machina or whatever, that's entirely up to you. But personally, it makes sense. I saw that's what they were doing. Maybe it doesn't make any sense that they suddenly just threw it out of us, but it does make sense to me. And sometimes that's what happens during battle. The thing is, even if you want to say DEM or Deus Ex Machina within the gym battle, the thing is, a lot of things are not seen unless you're on the battlefield. I have said this along with other people and a lot of discussions of a lot of natures. You can't always prepare for a battle. Sometimes you have to be in the battle. You need to see how things are go before you can pick up things. That you can go into a gym, or you can go into any battle with an inordinate amount, lots of information, and you will still probably end up losing because you still don't understand the nuances of battling. And that's why it's okay for something like this, you know? A lot of the things don't make any sense, like when Pikachu managed to survive being suffocated by Trip Superior and knocking out Trip Superior. That made no sense. That was just a feel-good message that Ash was able to get to Pikachu. Even though at that point Pikachu should not have been able to battle, or whatever. But in this particular instance, it makes sense. X-Scissor slammed on Trick Room. Ash saw that X-Scissor disrupted the energy of Trick Room. Therefore, he created a strategy or tactic revolving around X-Scissor slamming into Trick Room and disrupting it completely so that Hawlucha can get its speed restored. And that's what Ash is really known for. That is what Ash's best trait within a battling trainer. He can think of strategy and tactics, and they often work, but what Ash is best at is looking at a battlefield during battle and being able to understand things that other people may overlook or may think they're stupid and won't even try. Ash notices things during battle because that's where Ash's skill as a trainer is. Sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it will fail, but we saw this with Bertha, the Elite Four. Ash is known for going on the battlefield and seeing things and adapting to it. That is where Ash's skill is, and that's why I enjoy Ash so much, is because it's not all about strategy and tactics before. That's why he beat Conway. Conway was someone who analyzed everything. He had a formula. He was going to beat Ash. It was formula, 89% chance that Ash was going to lose to Conway, at least in Conway's mind. But that's not what happened. What happened was that Ash took factors that are ordinarily in Pokemon battling and adapting them within the battle, and that's why he won. Because Conway didn't know that Gibble was able to bite into Shuckle or Dusknoir's fist and use that in Ash's favor, and that's why Conway lost, because Ash used a strategy tactic within a battle that you couldn't be prepared for, and even if you were prepared for something, there's always something else. So anyway, back to the gym battle. Hawlucha then follows up with Flying Press, and then soon right after uses High Jump Kick for the win. And one of the coolest moments within the anime, and we have not seen this yet at all, Hawlucha actually very happily, I don't know if it's because it won Ash the Fairy Badge or whatever, but Hawlucha charges into Ash's arms and is extremely happy, and you'll at least see one of the images, and it was a very awesome moment. I just like it when Ash hugs his Pokemon, or his Pokemon hugs him, which is why I liked when Volkner lost against Luxray lost against Infernape, Volkner lost to Ash, and Paul lost to Ash. Ash and Infernape actually embraced and hugged, and it was really nice. So, yeah, we get to see Hawlucha hugging Ash here, which is really kind of cool. Which is really cool, not kind of. It really is cool, at least in my perspective. I don't know what you think of that, but anyway, let's see. Then Ash is giving his fairy badge, and then Valerie says something that made him think, and I don't know if it was about Pokemon, like, what Pokemon do you think did the best, or what Pokemon deserved the badge, and I think Ash said something along the lines of all of his Pokemon deserved it. I don't know if that's what was being said. Sorry if that's not what was being said. That's what I got. That's what I inferred for not knowing Japanese within that during that scene. Then Valerie gives him the fairy badge, and then he takes it, and then he goes along Hawlucha and then Fletchinder, you know, like, this is what you got me. And then he did his, I got a fairy badge, woohoo, and then Pikachu, or whatever. Interesting thing, though, is even though Hawlucha and Fletchinder did not join in Ash's fairy badge, Ghetto-Daze, or whatever it is, I got a fairy badge moment, Pikachu, we did see Hawlucha and Fletchinder at the end of the battle, so at least that was a really nice touch. And then Ash puts the fairy badge in his badge case. Ash has 6 badges, and then Scotty mentions something about how amazing the battle was, and he mentioned something about battle, and I think that's what it was, that Ash and Scotty are going to battle, and that's what's going to happen within the next episode. I think that's pretty much, and just to go over the next preview, we still have no idea what's going on within the next episode, again, with Scotty or whatever. Outside of Scotty is really upset that he doesn't have his notebook. Jesse, for whatever reason, has a huge crush on a picture of Steven Stone. I might put an image of that just because it's hilarious. Surprisingly, Bagon is within the actual episode. Surprisingly, in the preview, we did actually see Bagon battling. I don't know if we saw who is battling. All we know from Ash's team is Frogadier, and that was confirmed a long time ago. But Bagon is confirmed to be in the battle, which is surprisingly because its VA list or voice actor is not listed. I was going to mention that Fletchinder could still end up battling against Scotty, but someone mentioned that Fletchinder's voice actress, I think it's an actress, wasn't listed. But then I was thinking, well, Bagon's VA list wasn't listed, but I would think that Fletchinder would be more important than Bagon, so I don't know what's going to happen. I expect Pikachu and Frogadier to be in that battle. I'm almost expecting Hawlucha as well, possibly because Hawlucha did battle against Scotty's Bagon previously. I don't think Fletchinder is going to get anything, which is a little surprising because you would have thought that Fletchinder would have at least sweeped the Valerie gym, so it would make sense for it not to be used. But hey, you know, they've all got wins. I think they're doing this no fall guy except with Ramos and Fletchinder in against Grant. You know, it's really nice seeing these or Fletchling in the Viola rematch, but seems like they're trying to avoid Fall Guys. You know, sometimes Fall Guys make sense because it gives another Pokemon a lot more wins, such as Frogadier versus Ramos with Weeping Bell, and Go-Go gives Frogadier those 2 wins or whatever. So I think that's pretty much it. Again, there is a Slurpuff within the actual episode, which might hint at it. I'm going to discuss this more in detail, but in the Pokemon XY Pokemon Showcase episode, Miette, or Millifleur, is going to appear. You'll see an image here of her if you want to remember her. She had a Slurpuff. She might show up in the next episode, because in the next episode there is a Slurpuff, or it could mean that Scotty has a Slurpuff of his own. But we're not sure what's going on there or not. Just as a quick note, I am actually, my thoughts of the Olympia Gym have been disrupted. If it is a 4-on-4 double battle, I especially expect Halucha and Noibat to be used. But outside of that, I'm not sure. I actually cannot guess on this because Halucha does have the X-Scissor, and that's something that would be super effective against Olympia's Pokemon. And it seems to me that they did that on purpose, that they gave Halucha X-Scissor as an implication that it's going to be used against Olympia. Hopefully that means it'll be a 4-on-4 rather than a double battle, because honestly, even at this particular point, I would prefer Frogadier and Pikachu rather than Halucha and whatever else, you know. So I'm hoping it's a 4-on-4 double battle. I hope that the reason why this particular gym battle was a 2-on-2 was to make so that the next episode is going to be a 4-on-4 and whatever Wolfrick's going to be or whatever. So I think this pretty much covers everything that I can think of. Tell me what your thoughts of the gym battle. Do you disagree with me? What do you think or whatever? I almost forgot. Whoa! I guess this episode's going to be a bit longer than I thought it was going to be. This episode's already long, but anyway, we need to talk about my gym ranking. Okay, I'm going to just do this as quickly as possible and explain why. My favorite, I have decided, is Ramos, and that is because of Frogadier doing so amazingly well and taking out 2 of every Pokemon and Fletchinder getting a win. Granted, Halucha did not take out anything, but I think Halucha's loss was important so Frogadier could get something, and it was really an amazing battle. It was a 3-on-3, the least minimum that I like or whatever, so it was really nice. Second, with the Clement. The reason why Clement is not as good as Ramos is because it had Pikachu, even though Pikachu is fine, but there's also that anticlimactic bite attack at the end. But otherwise, Clement would definitely rank second. As I've mentioned, Valerie is third just because of how amazing this battle was, how amazing it showed that Ash can be as a battler, as a trainer. It was so impressive. That's why Valerie is third, despite it being a 2-on-versus-2. That is something that I will always criticize, is that it was a 2-on-2, so that's why it's not a little bit higher on the scale. After that is Corinna. The reason why Corinna is fourth and not anything higher, despite the fact that it was an amazing battle, is because Pikachu was the main MVP of that battle, and it really came off as sour in my taste because of what happened with Viola and Grant. Because I felt like even though Pikachu deserved to beat Mega Lucario, finally beating a Lucario since it lost to Cameron's Lucario as well as Corinna's Lucario in the beginning of the Corinna Mega Evolution Act, I feel like it suffered because it just didn't seem like it was justified or well deserved because of what happened with Viola versus Grant. Next, the next gym is the first match with Viola, even though it ended in a loss. Like I said, I was including Viola twice, I believe, or I may have just thought it, but I was adding Viola twice. The first match, I liked it a lot more than the last 2 gyms the last 2 spots, because Fletchling actually beat Surskit and Pikachu lost. Grant is next because at the very least, Froakie actually got to beat Onix. At least that's why it's a higher. And then the worst match, I wouldn't say it's the worst match, it's my least favorite of the match. I feel like it is loads better than Roxy or Elessa in the Unova region, but it is my least favorite, and that's the Viola rematch, and that's because Pikachu knocked out 2 of Viola's Pokemon to give Ash his bug badge or whatever it was. Like I said, Corinna probably would have been above Valerie had Pikachu not battled against Viola, beating 2 of her Pokemon, Fletchling getting screwed over in the second match rather than the first match, and Pikachu knocking out Tyron in the second gym. If those never happened, Corinna would definitely be higher than Valerie, because that would have been the most deserved win that Pikachu would have ever gotten. But unfortunately, that's not what we got. Basically, what we got is Pikachu taking out the 3 gyms, and therefore it suffered. The Corona gym battle suffered because it was Pikachu beating Mega Lucario. Even though it was slightly justified and slightly well deserved, it just there is that hit of suffering that Pikachu needlessly took out Viola's Vivian and Grant's Tyrant just to give Ash the badge, and then it's like, then you're also going to give it Mega Lucario. That's what I have a problem with it. But outside of that, I think that covered everything. I talked about the Breaks and Pancham showcase episode in the beginning, or at least the title. The discussion of that particular episode is going to be a while, because I have to edit this, or I've already edited this and uploaded, as you can see. I still have to work on the Noibat video, and then I have to upload some non-Pokemon videos as well. I need to get working on my Batman playthrough that you're probably not paying attention to. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'm Dustin and Benzel, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.